is behind the scenes at particular software, so it's actually a special feature on the DVD. So hold on a second. What? No, we are not going to get to see Star Wars. I tried to line it up, but George and I are tight. Didn't work out. Crap. Yeah. Can't skip through it. Bear with me. This is why I love my Apple TV, click, 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 and my kid's watching Frozen, Here we go. All right, so special features. Come on, that would probably be a much better talk. That would be good for me, at least. Wouldn't that be easy? DVD menus suck. Okay, here we go. So behind the scenes at particular software. So I'm relatively new to particular. I've only been working here since May. And I wanted to give you a glimpse into some of the things we do. There's not enough time to cover everything, so rather than just kind of go on a rampage of everything that we use behind the scenes you might not see, I'd like to focus on just a few things that we do that maybe you can take home and you can use somehow within your own organization that might be useful to you. So at particular, we live and breathe GitHub. And the AutoCAD even came to help us behind the scenes on this one. Now, we create a lot of repositories. We create them all the time, maybe more than we should, I don't know. As a result, there are a few of them. These are just the public ones, as of a couple weeks ago. I think there's more since then. And so all of these repos require some amount of care and feeding. So we've built some automation, little helpers to help us do certain tasks. How many of you guys use Slack? Several. How many of you use HipChat? Anything else that I'm forgetting? Anyone stuck with Link? Ouch. Well, our automation is all based on Slack, and we've built a bot we call pbot, and he works in Slack, and he helps us out. And the best thing is, the code we have for pbot is open source. You can go get it and look at it yourself, and I'll have all of these URLs at the end. And one of the things that pbot helps us with all of these repositories, is getting some uniformity. If you have 100 repositories, how can you be sure that they're all even remotely similar to each other in structure, content, conventions, anything like that? Well, we use pbot. So in Slack, we have this command, pbot sync name of repo, and this performs a sync-o-matic run against a given repo and branch. Well, what does that mean? It means that when we run this command, we look at one of our repositories called repo standards. Pbot reads that and then creates a pull request against whatever target repo and branch you want. That pull request is designed to bring it up to date with whatever we've changed in repo standards up until that point. And so that includes things like get attributes that control line endings, so you never have to worry about CRLF or LF or anything. We have people on Macs, we have people on PCs, they can live in peace because we have that covered. It covers diff settings for different file types. It covers merge union for specific file types like solutions and CS projects, so that when we merge those files, we get at least less merge conflicts. I don't think you can completely get rid of them. It covers common resharper settings for files, file-defining code conventions and inspections and stuff like that. It also covers the NuGet config so that we have our own private myget. Actually, it's not private, it's public. We have a public myget repository where we keep our pre-release packages and stuff like that. And so the NuGet config makes sure that no matter what we have Visual Studio set to, we can be sure that we can access that repository. We also have a bunch of other pbot commands that we can execute. A lot of them are boring, but here are some of my favorites. Pbot convert will convert an issue into a pull request. Pbot copy issue will copy an issue from one repository to the other. Many times we'll open an issue, and then we'll start discussing it, and then we'll go, oh crap, that doesn't belong here. That belongs over here. But with pbot issue or pbot copy issue, we can move it to the right place. Pbot create TC project for project name. We use TeamCity for our builds. Does anyone else use TeamCity for builds? Anyone else use Jenkins? Maybe Hudson, which is like Jenkins but with a different funny name? Does anyone write your own PowerShell scripts and have to do everything by hand? Oh. We also use Octopus deploy, and so we can do pbot create octopus project with the name of the project. Now, with both TeamCity and Octopus, we have all of these repositories, and they all follow these conventions thanks to pbot sync. So we have templates for these, and we can make sure that all of the Octopus and TeamCity settings will follow a specific convention, making setting up these projects much easier, a one-liner. And then if that gets updated, we have pbot update Octopus project, and we can get those projects in sync as well. But that's actually not my favorite pbot command. My favorite one is coming up on the next slide. And it's pbot pygmy. Is anyone familiar with the fable of the chicken and the pig? A pig and a chicken are walking down the road, and the chicken says, "Hey pig, I think we should open a restaurant." Pig replies, "Maybe, what should we call it?" And the chicken responds, "How about ham and eggs?" The pig thinks for a moment and says, "No thanks, I'd be committed, but you'd only be involved." And so that's been used in Scrum to kind of outline how the people who are really responsible for a project or a task or getting something delivered are the pigs. They are on the line to get it delivered, while some of the people kind of on the periphery, maybe the experts offering opinions, stuff like that, they're chickens. And GitHub only allows us to have one assignee per issue. Well, we have what we call task forces, and we will put in the issue that we have, these people are on the task force. They are pigs. And so pbot pygmy will allow us to find all of the issues that are assigned to us, no matter which repository they're in. And so I ran mine last night, and this is just a sampling because it would never fit on one slide, but I have a lot of documentation issues I need to look at. But actually, then the summary is at the bottom. 41 issues or pull requests found in 92.86 seconds. So it's not especially fast, but it will tell you what you're responsible for. So essentially, given our druthers, we would like to automate everything, at least within reason. Of course, this isn't always possible, pragmatic, or wise. But so far, I've only been talking about things that help us. Let me change a little bit to how our automation helps you. By adopting Semver, we make a promise, essentially, like Treebeard, to keep you safe. Like Udi said yesterday, we are your infrastructure that you depend on, and we want to be boring, and we want to make sure that whenever you upgrade, you can do it in the lowest risk way possible. And so many of the tools we create to eliminate friction in development, but this one is different. This one actually increases friction on purpose. Now, why would we do that? We use a project called API Approver. This ensures that changes to our public API can't sneak in to a pull request that would break Semver. So in the NServiceBus core, if I were to fire up Visual Studio and do some coding and add some public types because I don't know any better, when I run the unit tests, I will get my diff viewer showing up. And this shows the entire NServiceBus API, and it shows that, hey, I added this new public type with these new public properties. So this isn't so bad, but anything that we add to the public API surface, we have to support for 2 major versions. In one version, we can obsolete it and tell you what to do instead, and then in the next version, finally, we can get rid of it. So if Andreas, for example, is reviewing my pull request, the first thing he's probably going to do is look at this API comparer file, and he's going to go, "Oh, David added some public types. Maybe we should have a conversation. Maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe we should figure out a better way." Because once we have these in the public API, we're stuck with them. On the other hand, if I change an API, that's much worse. Now we're breaking a public API. And this is what you would require a major change for. So essentially, we absolutely hate breaking changes with a passion. In fact, we're a little obsessed about breaking changes, and this brings up a project in our other organization, which is called Particular Labs. It's where we grow the dinosaurs. Actually, we don't have any dinosaurs, although that would be cool. We should talk about that at our next meetup. Particular Labs is where we have a bunch of repositories and tools that help us to do certain tasks or are experimental, and we just don't fully support them. This is where the routing visualization project that was mentioned yesterday lives. So another project in here is API Comparer, which allows us to examine the API changes between different versions of essentially any NuGet package. So let's take a look at an example. This is actually a public website. If you can you read the URL or not? If you can see the URL, you can see that we're comparing versions of NServiceBus between 5.2.0 and 5.2.9. And we have one method obsoleted, which is not a breaking change, so that's fine. It's the Rindall encryption service. I don't even remember what happened in there. We've changed that up, and so the old method got obsoleted. So this is all legit as far as Semver is concerned. I got curious, and I decided it would be fun to do a report on all of the breaking changes in the top 10 NuGet packages out there. Well, actually, I did 25, but only 10 fit on a slide. So what are you going to do? So do you get it? It's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, chocolatey NuGet. Get it? Haha. This is the top 10 packages that actually have .NET code in them. So jQuery is left out, obviously. And you can see the entity framework clearly isn't Semver. And so the current version of Entity Framework, for example, is 6.1.3. So for the latest minor, we're comparing it to 6.1.0. For the latest major, we're comparing it to 6.0.0. Now, to be fair, not all of these projects even purport to support Semver, so we can't completely pan them too bad. But it will be interesting to look at now our packages and see how they're different. And we see a lot of zeros there, and that's good, but we're not perfect either. First of all, our main Semver focus is on the core, because the core is what other packages depend on. And as long as you take, does anyone out here ever take a new major version of NServiceBus and just drop the DLLs into your production system and say, away we go, that'll probably be fine? I'm guessing not. So as long as you recompile, everything will normally be fine. The problem is when you have a compiled assembly that references another compiled assembly, and you start getting missing method exceptions when you don't recompile it. And that's where Semver really gets important. But, another thing is NServiceBus Azure, that repository is getting broken up into Azure Service Bus and Azure Storage Queues. And so there's a lot of just carving it up and all that sort of stuff. But the real glaring thing is that 2 up in the upper right corner. And it's let's take a look at what that is, though. NServiceBus persistence extensions and NServiceBus pipeline executor. And in both cases, we've removed a constructor on a class that you've probably never heard of. Certainly would not want to construct in real life. And so this is probably okay. We're not super proud of it. But at the end of the day, if it comes to a decision between fixing a bug and following Semver, we're not going to be super religious zealots about it. We're going to fix that bug for you. We accept that we are responsible for your infrastructure, and you have placed a lot of trust in us. And with that great power comes great responsibility, and we take that very seriously, and that's the focus of everything we do around Semver and API Comparer. So thank you. Here are the links to all of the tools and packages and URLs that I used. That's it. Thank you.